about it. So I just forgot to unmute myself. It's okay. But welcome to the show, Tiffany.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
Oh girl, I am in there. I'm excited about this whole thing about having you on the show, about your history. And I
Awesome.
wanted to find, there's a lot of different things, and I'm sure that a lot of people have a lot of questions. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go into it, girlfriend. Tell me, how did you get started in the music industry?
Wow. Well, I got started. I can be honest with you. I remember when I was 3 years old, I fell in love with the vibration of, my mom would play music. Every black girl had their mom who got up on Saturday mornings and, cleaned the house and they listened to their favorite music. Well, my mom would tell me that when she would listen to her music, that I would lay on the floor and I would just, really vibe from the vibrations, from the music. And then when she would turn it off, I would like cry for her to turn it back on. And then one other thing I would do is I would sit behind my dad and I would just love to hear the vibration coming, from his voice coming up his back. And so I look back at times like that, and that's when I realized that I fell in love with vibration first, with sound and things like that. And the interesting thing is that when I was because I love music, I fell in love with music so much at such a young age. And I had a wonderful uncle who pursued his dreams at such a young age that I was able to watch, because I saw that it kind of put me in the sense to where I started saying some things. And that, to be honest with you, as a child, as an adult now, I didn't realize that I was actually calling those things that weren't, as though they were. And so they became, a part of my journey. So three things. I remember watching Soul Train, and me and my brothers would be sitting down watching Soul Train, and I would say, "Hey, I'm going to do Soul Train." Yeah, I jump up in front of you know, whoever they were watching. I jump up in front of the TV, and I'm like, "I'm going to do Soul Train." They're like, "Mom, can you tell Lady to go sit down and shut up?" And so then I said, I'm going to do the Apollo Theater. Well, there were three things that I began to confess as a little girl. I said I was going to do the Apollo Theater. I said I was going to do Soul Train, and I said I was going to win Grammys. Well, little did I know, I was starting along that journey, and I won the Apollo Theater three times. And then I moved on to do Soul Train, and I did the Soul Train with the wonderful Don Cornelius at that time.
Oh
So
yeah.
that was a memorable moment. That was like something I dreamed of even as a little girl. And so only thing I haven't accomplished yet is my Grammys, and so I'm on my way to that now.
Well, we can get that next. You still here?
Okay.
We can get that next. I ain't worried about that.
Yeah.
Hey, as a matter of fact, you have a new song out. Now that we're on that you have a new song out.
Yes, I do. It's
So,
titled "Make Me Say It Again."
hmm
It's my rendition of the Isley Brothers. And excuse me, what I like to do is even, as I put new music out, or even if I'm just out, doing shows or whatever, I like to bring back, the music that we listened to that at the time when I listened to it, I didn't know what the heck what it was saying. I didn't understand the love language or anything like that. And so now I'm an adult and I can appreciate it, even more than just the music and the vocals. I can appreciate the lyrics. And so
hmm
just wanted to bring that back and just show, the younger generation that, the lyrics and the things that they had back then, it was, eternal,
hmm
because it's almost like no matter when you listen to it, it feels good.
Yeah, tell me about it, girlfriend. My daughter, she's in the bathroom, and all I hear is Luther Vandross and Stevie Wonder, and I'm like, how old is she again?
Okay. And,
She's
and
like,
I'm
oh,
telling
mom. She's like, oh, mom, that's when music was music. You
oh,
telling me?
she's smart.
Oh yeah. And you were saying?
Oh, I was just saying, and my daughter does the same thing. I can always tell what mood she's in by the music she's listening to.
Hmm
I'm like, okay, she's in her feelings. Or sometimes the funny thing is, one of the songs that she would pick up, even as a 2-year-old, she picked up Deborah Cox. No, 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 doing that. And I mean, she would literally get her mic and her little princess dress and sing the song. And, I have pictures of her just being so indignant with it.
hmm
And she's also one that fell in love with, music. And I think it was because of the music that we surrounded her around too, as well as
hmm
I'm sure with your daughter, the music
Yeah.
you surrounded her around.
Oh yes. Oh yes. So man, I tell you, okay, so we have a few things I want to talk about today. But the first thing I wanted to find out is, you have a family, you have a daughter.
Hmm.
Um, you kind of took a break. What was that about?
Yeah, I did. I took a break, and you know what I realized? I realized that I never stopped singing, but I took a break from the industry and just really began to sing songs that were really bringing me out of the journeys that I would, the things that we were going through as a family at that time. Um, I had a deal with Pendulum Records. My song was on the number 3 Billboard, getting ready to tour and travel all over the place. I actually toured with SWV, H Town, Jade, Big Daddy Kane, people like that. And so, and I was so young that I really didn't embrace, I didn't know how to embrace it. And so it was just so when my daughter was born, I have a son. Now, my son he was born first, and my mom stepped in, and I was able to just continue moving on like nothing happened. And because I've always been a thin framed woman, they didn't even know I had a baby. So I was able to get through that,
Wow.
Yeah. And so then I got pregnant with my daughter because one thing about me is, I come from faith and I understand that I didn't breathe life and I can't take it. That's me. And so when I got pregnant with my daughter, even though I was in the highlight of my dreams and the highlight of my career, when I got pregnant with my daughter and she was born, well, during that journey, that's when my manager said he didn't want to, he wanted to go separate ways. Things began to happen. And I believe I went through like a really stressful moment, because it was interesting. You're coming from like this highlight of living to now pregnant with a child and you have a child. Now you're moving home and now you have to, use your resources to now survive. And so I remember I went to, there was a store that was hiring at the moment. And, all I knew was music. And so I went to this store. It was called Fashion Sense. And so I went to this store and I went in, I got the job. And next thing I know, like 4 weeks later, I'm the manager of this store. And so there was this guy that comes in the store and his name was Jeremy. And so one day I had played my song, that's when cassettes were out.
Yeah.
But I played my song. I played my song and the guy he's shopping around and he's doing his thing. And then he comes over and my one of the workers was there with me. He comes over and he was like, "Who is this?" And then the girl that I was working with, she goes, "Oh, that's her." He was like, "No, not give him a love he can feel today." And so if there was ever a moment that I wanted to climb up under the counter and hide, it was that one. But I tell you what, throughout all of that, I ended up having my daughter. And when I had my daughter was born with dextrocardia. And dextrocardia, at that time, she was the 3rd child in the country to ever have it. It was so new to them, like they would actually have like several doctors at a time, different doctors, if they could, come in and just check on her and, and try to touch her and do different things or whatever the case is. And so I had to be front and center to make sure, no, you're not going to experiment on her. This is what's going to happen, so we stayed, we were always right there. But the one thing I made sure when my daughter was born, when she was born, she had a band placed in her heart at 4 months. Now, this was because she had 2 holes in her heart. So her red blood and her blue blood was mixing, which was causing her she was failing to thrive. So they put this band in her heart. And then when she was 7 years old and when she was 9 years old, she had 2 open heart surgeries. And the interesting thing is, the open heart the doctors that God ended up using throughout this process, they were the ones that did the surgery on Bill Clinton, all these these other elite people. So we knew we were in good hands, outside of what we knew God had already said. And so one of the things that I wanted to make sure of is that she was surrounded around faith, surrounded around the faith that God could do the miraculous, that even though she was 4 months old and 7 years old and 9 years old, we made sure that we kept her around the fact that God is a miracle God and he can do exceedingly and abundantly all we can ask or think, But the key to it is believing. And so my husband and I, we really lacked faith and just began to believe what we knew God was saying to us, I mean, she even went through Make-A-Wish Foundation because she was failing to thrive, like one of her wishes was, she had a wish because they didn't expect her to be here. Well, the interesting thing is she had the surgery when she was 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And she turns around out, before they knock her out, they let you, they give you the oral anesthesia so you can have a little more time.
Mm-hmm.
So she and I are sitting there talking, and the nurse is watching, and we could tell she was getting a little groggy. So I'm like, okay, Gabby, mommy's going on the other side, and I'll be right here when you wake up.
Mm-hmm.
It's time. And so Gabby, she's, we're loving on each other and kissing on each other. And I'm a crybaby. So I'm trying to get out of there before I'm like, woo, So I'm trying to get out of that door. And my daughter says, Mommy, I'm not scared. And I said, oh, wow, Gabby, that's so awesome. That is so awesome. And I'm still trying to push my way out that door.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get to the door, and my daughter goes, well, don't you want to know why? And I said, yeah, Gabby. At that time, I had to turn around and give her my undivided attention. And so I said, yeah, Gabby, tell me why. My daughter said, because I know God is with me.
Wow.
And when she said that was like, God speaking to me to let me know that it was well, that he was in control,
Yeah.
And so to bring you up to date, she's 25 years old.
Oh
She's
my
never
gosh.
been on any medication. Everything that they told her that she couldn't do, she's done. Gymnastics, cheerleading, everything that
Wow.
they said she couldn't do, she made a point to do.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And
Wow.
she's like, okay, Mommy, now it's time for you to go do you.
Oh. Oh.
I know, right?
Oh. Don't make me get me off the screen. Hold on a second. Okay. Okay. Oh my gosh, that is so cute. I mean,
Yeah.
they grow up so fast. I mean,
Thank
your
you.
whole life is so surrounded with all of their issues, their problems, growing up, their schoolwork, their this, their that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, all right, mommy, bye.
It's like, where are they?
What do you mean bye?
Right.
What do I do now?
Oh my goodness. I tell you, when she went away to college, all of mine actually went away to college. And I'm like, well, shoot, I gotta get a dog.
Get a dog.
Get a puppy or something.
You need something to take care of. Stop
Right.
peeing in the house. Okay, I'm better now.
Right. Right. And my husband, he's a
Wow.
songwriter, so he's always writing. He's like, okay, only time you want to be bothered is when you want to help him write the song,
Yeah,
So.
right. Yeah, right. Hey, babe, come in here. Help me write this
Right.
song.
Be
Right?
here when you hear this.
Or watch a movie, right?
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Or attempt
Wow,
to.
wow, wow. So, but you not only are a singer, but you're an published author. And I do have your book, Ugly Duckling No More. And I know that you have two. So, talk about that. Tell me about that. And how did you know you wanted to do this?
Well,
Or
you
were
know
you
what?
forced?
Yeah, it's interesting because there was a thing that came up that we put together, and it's called Dreams in a Jar. And it hadn't dawned on me until it was one time my youngest son, whose name is Michael, I have three children. My oldest is Kyle, my daughter is Gabrielle, and my youngest is Michael. And he was the one that was like glued to my hip no matter where I went. Like the safest place for me was the bathroom. And so he would sit outside the bathroom door. And that's, I've always been the type to go in the bathroom and do exercises with my diction, with my mouth and things like that, and sing and things like that. And so I remember being in there singing, and my son comes out. This is when American Idol was on. He goes, Mom, you can be on American Idol. And I'm like, babe, Mommy's had her time on American Idol. No. But it was just interesting because when he shared that with me, it put me in the mindset of really just starting to really think about some things. And as I began to think about some things, I realized it was more than music. The journey, everything is so much more than music. Like I believe God used my daughter's heart to deal with mine, and to get me get my heart where it needs to be, to where I have compassion and empathy and love for no matter who it is. And so it's just interesting because, and then not to mention the journeys that I've gone through, even as a little girl, we were talking about this, sisterhood and things that you have going on. And I'm telling you, these books would be a great fit, and even the conversations, because it talks about things that we've gone through as children. And if we're not careful and we don't, really deal with those things, well, we have to end up dealing with them as adults. One way or the other, you're going to be confronted with that issue. Now, where you stand is, do I deal with it or do I ignore it? And so when you look so the Ugly Duckling No More talks about the things that I went through. I remember things being spoken to me as a little girl, and it was interesting because it made me start looking at me like, what's wrong with me? Because these were people that were supposed to not say these things. These were people that were supposed to say other things, you know? And so, and although they did, this seemed to be the majority, you know what I'm saying? And so I began to look at myself a certain way, and I began to carry myself a certain way. And so the reason why I titled it Ugly Duckling No More is because one of the books, which is Ugly Duckling, is one of the things that I studied to really, you know, and I saw myself, you know, myself in. And so I remember one of the paragraphs that we were reading with Noter, how when he went out to go play with the world rejected him, you know. And in my sense, it wasn't so much of the rejection more than it was my mindset. You know what I mean? So what I realized is that I had to pull back and deal with that person, because now I'm an adult and my daughter is, I don't want that to trickle to her. Right. You know? And so it became, you know, like not even a burden, but a good burden, you know, to now share the importance of what we speak to our children. I remember talking to somebody and they were like, well, you know, like a child saying that they want to be president. I'm not talking about those things. Those are great. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the heart of that child, you know, because sometimes they have so much to say and nobody's there to listen. Yeah. You know, so I did the book Ugly Duckling No More, which talks about my journey and the things that I've endured and overcome and how I overcame those things. And then it brings you to this book, which is me. And me now takes you on your own journey. So now you can put the mirror in front of you. And, you know, and one of the practices that I have is interesting because a lot, you know how a lot of people say, okay, I want you to look in the mirror and I want you to encourage yourself and say these things to yourself to build yourself up.
I feel we are doing that.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. When we do that, what are we doing? We're picking everything wrong.
Right.
So you're not digesting the good. So what you need to do is you have to cover that mirror up. You know, and I'm not saying, oh, we got to use one, but you got to cover that main mirror up, you know, that you go to in the morning or whatever the case is, and cover that up and just begin to speak life to that spirit, speak life to that person. And then you'll see, because this is where the book comes in. Ugly Duckling is when Noter began to realize that what his was the outward surface. But he went out not caring what the world had to offer anymore. He just heard him having fun and said, hey, I'm going out there, you know. And when he got out there and was accepted, he had never even seen that he had evolved into this beautiful swan. And that's why he was so different, you know. And so this is why, you know, these stories mean so much, you know. And not only my stories mean so much, but as far as sharing them, you know, and it's not just women, it's boys that go through it, and it's not just children, it's us adults that go through it, you know. So
wow. So I mean that hits home. I mean, it also hits really deep. I mean, we really do need to go a little bit further than just skin deep or the surface. I remember back, you know, in our time, in our day, where, I mean, you know, we talked about these things. I mean, you know, my parents used to my mom used to sit me down and say, okay, talk.
Yes.
It's be like everything it's just come all out. So I mean, you know, nowadays it's like talk. It's like, well, what is it? Wait. Here it is.
Right, I'll text you.
It's like, darling, what are you doing on that phone? You know, at the hip, the phone is connected to these kids nowadays. And I understand it, but at the same time, we don't have that connection we used to have at dinner. You know, everybody sit down at dinner and we all talk about the day.
That's right.
It's almost gone.
It is. And it's interesting that, you know, it's almost like we have to bring, even I guess like when TVs came out, you know, I'm sure that was a distraction. You know, how did you make time even when TVs came out? So now these things are out, you know, so now we have to figure out how to make time, you know, to put these things away. I like some of the restaurants that they have now. It's interesting because they take your phones, you know, and I love it because, you know, then it makes you not have an excuse to not communicate, you know.
Right.
And then too, you look at some of the younger generations. It's like the reason why they can't communicate it is because they're too busy using the emojis and the you know, adjectives on the doggone phone to where it's like to actually have a conversation. You're gonna get at all those things, you know. So it's almost like, you know, this is why it's important to even, you know, that's why the book is important for us to even understand. I remember yesterday I was at TJ Maxx. And this lady, she asked one of the workers there. She was a young lady, and an older lady asked this young lady. She says, "Where are your pantyhose?" And the lady says, "Pantyhose." She says,
Mm-mm.
she says, "You're not." And I'm sitting there minding my business over here, looking at some makeup or whatever, And I hear this conversation going on, and she got so frustrated. She was like, "Pantyhose, what you put on your legs when you?" And I couldn't help it. And I'm sure the young lady probably felt really bad, but it was,
Yeah.
see, those are the things, you know what I mean, that are dear to me, that things that women, young girls don't know,
Yeah.
like even, a lot of things I learned as a woman, I hit the wall learning, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I find there's a lot of us out there.
Oh yeah.
We
So
got
I
to hit
wanted
the
to.
wall learning,
Oh,
and that's okay.
it's okay. Yep.
It's okay because we appreciate it more.
Mm-hmm. We
And we
do.
line things up just a little bit more because of that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I want to give the pointers out to the ladies. What we called stockings, they call pantyhose nowadays. Stockings were thick, boy.
yeah.
Those things were like that was for winter time.
Oh man,
But now they call pantyhose
pantyhose.
stockings, or it's what was it? They call stockings leggings
Yep.
without the feet now. They just took the feet out.
Wow.
Because that's what it was. I mean, think about how thick those stockings were back in the day. All they
Yeah.
did was just take the feet out and call them leggings.
You
Now
know,
they're yoga pants or whatever.
right. Yeah. Now that's it.
Yeah. So it's
Liquid,
there's
liquid
different names
leggings.
for everything. We gotta get hip. Gotta get hip.
Right. Right. Liquid leggings.
Yeah, right.
You're
So
like,
I
did you
tell
just
you.
burn those? No.
Oh. Oh my gosh. Oh goodness gracious.
My
Wow. So
daughter wears those things. She loves them. The young girls are like, I'm like, you know what? You guys look beautiful. Keep on
yeah.
doing it.
That's it. Just do it. Just keep
Be
doing it.
great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, wow. I mean, so you have the two books out. It's Ugly Duckling No More
Yeah.
and Me.
Hmm.
And you also have Make Me Say It Again.
Yes.
Now, that song was the song. That was the song. And
Yes.
if you're listening to us right now, we are live. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to play that song on our iHeartRadio show, and that's going to air tomorrow at 6 p.m. on iHeartRadio 100.9 FM. And you can go online and listen to it at WCCF at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, man, I tell you, there's just so many different things in your journey, and now your daughter's older, and it's such a blessing to have her. That must have been a huge scare. I know the Grammys is in your future.
Yes.
I know that, but but what else are we looking forward to? Are you going to be writing some more books and releasing some more songs in the near future?
Absolutely. I have my new CD that'll be coming out, my LP that'll be coming out late August. We ended up changing it again, so it'll be late August, but it's titled 1111. And 1111 is not only my birthday, so you can send gifts then too, but no, not only is 1111 my birthday, but it just is, God has, it's been a journey with that. It's been 7 years that, excuse me,
It's okay.
that I would watch. I would get on my phone, and like when I pick up my phone, it would be 1111 just to call somebody or to retrieve a message or something like that. It would always be like 1111 or 111. And I'm like, okay, let me slow down and find out what this means, because I believe that God speaks to us in so many more ways than just that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I slowed down and I start looking it up, and it began to talk about the universe rendering the things that you have been calling forth. And it began to talk about, it's so much more, but it's like the things that God had shown me with 1111. The because it is so much more, and the roundness of what it is. That's why I ended up having to title my CD that, because it is so much more in the fullness of what it is. Remember back then when we listened to Luther Vandross, or we listened to one of the CDs, and we could listen to A side and B side, or whatever we listen to, we could listen to everything and just do whatever we had to do. You didn't have to switch nothing up.
Right.
And so I went back to just really good feeling music and lyrics that really allow you to be mature and enjoy one another, but be, classy with it as well. So, it's really the epitome of all the things and all the journeys that I've gone through. It's the what would you call it? The jambalaya of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely, definitely. And when you mentioned Luther, it's like, yeah.
I do. I got you there.
Ooh, you got me. You got me there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. It's
And
such
not
a
only
one.
not to I'm sorry,
Mhm.
not only not
No,
to
no,
cut
no.
you off,
Go.
but not only Luther, but Bruno Mars. Now, Bruno Mars has like this. I just love how I love Bruno Mars and I love her.
Mm,
I love her that she stands in her own self and she is
mm-hmm.
who she is. She's like, I am beautiful. I have what it takes, but I have all these talents. Here are my
Mm.
talent.
Right.
With an S.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then you have Bruno Mars, and just the live music and the intimacy of
Yeah.
just pulling you in that. That's
Mm-hmm.
what it's all about. And I'm telling you, if I had it my way or could say, I would say it's the Bruno Mars version, female version of Bruno Mars.
Oh, sweetness. Well, we're gonna be playing one of her songs, like I said, during our airing on iHeartRadio. But if you do need to go ahead and listen to any of her music, you can go to her website. I have been flashing all of her social media during the entire interview at the bottom, so you have no excuse. Just pause the
Great.
screen and just type it in. That's how it goes. And it also is in the description box below, so you can grab that. Man, I tell you, Tiffany, what kind of advice do you give to the women out there and men who want to, really, really want to start in the music industry, or they want to be an author, or they have children that are challenging? I mean, a life without love, of what you're doing is just terrible. What do you give them today as an advice, a piece of something, like a chunk, like we used to
Absolutely.
get,
Yeah.
from grandma when she used to tell, sit at my feet, come here.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. Well, first off, I would say, if you're going through anything, understand that God redeems the time and he'll bring the season back. So don't give up because you have to go through a journey or a season of helping someone else or doing something else that's outside of what your gift is or your purpose is,
Mm-hmm.
because those are the things I find that build character and that build us to the point to where when God finally releases you, you have everything you need, nothing missing, nothing broken. So, and not only that, I also say this, how, the younger generation has truly educated themselves as far as the music is concerned, because we as the parents have made sure they have the schooling available to them. But I will say this, as well as you have the technical part of it, understand that there are those of us that are seasoned that come out of the business that have something to say as well. And so it's actually the intertwine of both of us that really can come out with the truth so that you're not caught up in some of the things that some of the older ones have had to go through.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's important to have an ear to hear and not shut down. Stay humble and love the Lord with all your heart.
And that's it. I ain't got nothing else to say. I'm done. Thank you so much again, Tiffany, for being on the show. I so much appreciate you, and just such an inspiration. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you so
I'm
much.
2 books behind you, by the way. It's just both. But I want to thank you again, and thank you guys so much for tuning in to Dream Chasers Radio. And don't forget to dare to be different, and just subscribe, because we got a lot of content coming up and a lot of amazing people, just like Tiffany, Bynoe. So I said it right, right?
You did it.
I did it. Yes. that come on and they tell you about their story. This is not because we want to share the story. We want to share the experience.
Yes.
So you know that you're not alone. The experience is there and the wisdom is there, and Tiffany has it. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask her. Her information is in the description box below, and I'm sure she'll love to reach out to you in a group session, maybe post something on that Facebook page, or like her or follow or something like that. Yes. Until next time, guys. Bye.
Bye.
I did to be different.